anyone know? Like, do I start whenever I feel like starting, or is there like a set time that I start? Okay, I'm assuming I'm going to be starting now. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Caleb Varghese, and my topic is really about chess and how it could be a possible remedy to a lot of our failing social policies as well as our education system. Now currently, the youth of this generation, particularly those in the inner cities, are suffering from, clearly like I said before, a failing education system as well as high amounts of addictions. Now, politicians, social activists, as well as various charity organizations have been working to stop this epidemic for various years. But what if I told you the answer was simple? What if I told you that the answer was chess? Now, when chess was first created, it was originally played by the warrior and ruling aristocracy of various nations. Now these men, or women in some cases, were expected to expand the empire as well as lead troops into battle. But what made chess so appealing to these people? Why did they want to study it? Well, this is because the chess set needed to be, the skill set, needed to be a good chess player as well as a good general. Were actually very similar and in fact intertwined. Chess is an excellent way to, for an individual to think clearly, reason better, as well as develop an ability to strategize better. Now, this understanding of chess would indeed complement and enhance the ability of a general to act in certain situations that would increase his ability to think critically in situations of pressure, as well as situations that often change, which are usually battlefields. Oh. Now, The Art of War is a book written in poetic form, written in the 5th century BC by Chinese general Sun Tzu. Now, Sun Tzu writes into The Art of War about how one wins wars and how one fights particular types of enemies on particular terrains in different types of styles. Now, although The Art of War may seem irrelevant today, a lot of chess players continue to study it. Why is this so? Well, The Art of War and chess both stress various attributes that contribute to various types of thinking, which result, at the end of the day, for one to win. Now, these strong similarities, stressed in both The Art of War and chess, contribute greatly to how students think inside and outside the classroom, in that it could help reform the current education system and help fix society's shortcomings in fixing things like addictions. Now, these principles that the two of them stress are the ability to develop strategy and tactics, the ability to be patient and to concentrate, the ability to think ahead, as well as the ability to understand that there are reactions to every action. Now, in chess, you may think that this applies in that a player, when they walk into a chess game, they have a specific goal in mind, an end goal. And just like a child with blocks, only they know the end goal. Now, these chess players also realize that there's an opponent on the other side of the board trying to foil their plans. And just like Sun Tzu says in The Art of War, your plans need to be like water. They need to adapt to the environment around them. In life, this can be interpreted as maybe there's a problem in your life and you're trying to overcome that problem, but you can't. So you need to find a new way to get around that problem. But in life as well, this can be taken as there are consequences to every action you have. And you may be thinking that, well, that sounds really basic, but this is something that's clearly lacking in a lot of inner city and lower income neighborhoods. I mean, if people really thought before they took action, don't you think in these inner city neighborhoods there would be maybe less single mothers, or maybe a little bit of lower levels of poverty? Or just like my main topic, less addictions? I mean, if you thought maybe that maybe this thing I'm doing is having a negative effect on my body, people will be less likely to do it. Now, you may be thinking, chess, a solution to addictions. This sounds rather crazy, don't you think? Well, I actually thought the same thing. Now, when I was actually picking my topic, I was only going to talk about the benefits of chess it has on our current education system. But when I thought of this topic, I actually thought of my great-grandfather. Now, my great-grandfather had a huge alcohol addiction that was developed very early in his life. And upon picking up the game of his chess towards his early 20s and late teens, he actually dropped that addiction. Now, even me myself, I thought maybe this is a fluke. This is, in fact, a coincidence. But after doing more research, I came upon the case study of Morakchil. Now, this is a village in India not too far away from where my great-grandfather was raised. And in this village, if you were to go back there maybe 50 years ago, this was the center of the bootleg alcohol trade in the region. Now, during this time, they were going through a period of prohibition like we had ours in the 1920s. And as we know, with things like addiction and prohibition in the 1920s, there's a lot of crime that revolved around it. And it was clear that crime was very high due to this addiction resulting from alcohol. I mean, homicide was at an all-time high, murder, as well as rape and domestic disputes were at an all-time high in this particular village. Now, one day, a man decided to open up a tea shop in this village, and he was extremely disgusted by the addictive activities alcohol has done to the people of the village. So he decided to implement teaching chess to these people. And upon teaching chess to about 600 or so people, chess eventually began to spread like wildfire. And in fact, today, the people of the village became so obsessed with chess that 90% of the village knows how to play chess. 90% of the 12,000 people living in that village has an understanding of chess. And 98% of families have at least one person that knows how to play. So it is clear that chess promotes a kind of almost street smart-like thinking needed for the inner cities. But it also promotes critical thinking that's needed for a lot of the STEM jobs today and various other jobs that are needed in the workforce as the world becomes more modernized. Now, chess can help reform the current education system at the moment. Now, it is clear that study after study after study has shown that chess positively helps the brain in all aspects, including critical math skills, critical reading skills, as well as problem-solving abilities. But there's another thing I think that chess really helps improve, and that can be extremely beneficial to our education system, and that is memory. Now, this right here is Magnus Carlsen. For those of you who don't know, he's one of the best chess players in the world. And he's playing a group of 10 lawyers who happen to be one of the highest ranked chess players also in the world, and have all graduated from Harvard Law School in a game of chess blindfolded. He's playing them each individually. Now, this obviously, being the intellects that all these 10 lawyers are, seems to be a challenge in itself. But blindfolded on top of that just seems irrational. I mean, how could he possibly beat all of them? It's not like someone's telling him the positioning of every piece on the board. The person right there who's tying the blindfold only tells him the move of every specific piece on the board after that move. So from move 1 of the first game to move whatever that number may be on the last game, he needs to remember the positioning of each and every individual piece on each and every individual board per game. And simultaneously, he needs to understand the various possibilities and best outcomes in order to win that game. Now, you may be thinking, he may be the best chess player in the world, but how can he beat these men? Or definitely could not have possibly beaten these men. But in fact, he did. Now, some of you may be thinking that, well, he may have beaten these men because he's a child prodigy or he has a photographic memory. But the fact of the matter is, he has none of those things. In fact, it is chess that has conditioned him to do so. This brings me to my next point, that a lot of people think that chess is only for smart people, but it is actually that chess makes you smart. Now, as you can see, the advancements of skills chess offers us should be something that should be encouraged within many of these lower income schools. Sadly, schools with general populaces with poorer children are less likely to have these extracurricular activities or enrichment activities such as chess to help supplement their learning. Unlike here at the Wheatley School, we're very fortunate to have games and extracurricular activities that all supplement our academic studies in some way, shape, or form. I could not think of one club at all, that does not supplement our academic studies here at Wheatley. But in a lot of these lower income schools, they don't have these programs, like I said before, and they only teach to teach tests, only teaching to obtain certain results on particular tests, and this is something that's clearly wrong. Now, this idea of teaching solely to take the tests already disadvantages the disadvantaged student. You see, although this is applicable to most students and children, it's more so applicable to those of lower income statuses, and this is because that children who are of lower income status learn more through playing rather than that of being lectured or only through listening. Now, psychologists have determined that chess promotes better test grades. And why is this so? Simply because chess promotes the idea of looking back on past experiences in previous chess games to overcome and in fact win your next chess game, which is in a new similar situation. Now, using chess players, psychologists have determined pretty much the same thing, that those that play chess have better problem-solving abilities. Therefore, chess can be used to help increase test scores by implementing it in schools to help a particular student draw connections from past experiences to solve similar problems. Now, Cody Pomeranz, who organizes one of the largest chess tournaments in the country from ages K through 12, invited an inner city school consisting of 5th graders to this tournament. Now, in this school so happened to have 2 of their students in the finals. Now, one of the students was the best kid in the class, while the other student was the worst kid in the class, had all D's and F's, and was actually homeless and had no parents. Yet, despite that, the worst kid in the class won. And after the match, this worst kid in the class was seen crying, and his coach walks up to him and asks him, "Why are you crying?" And he responds, "I'm not stupid." You see, all his life, this student thought he was stupid, but he couldn't be because he just won a chess tournament. You see, this brings me to the next point, that chess evens the playing field. Chess is an equalizer. It doesn't matter your age, your ethnicity, your religion, as long as you learn the principles of the game and apply it to your life, anyone can succeed. And this especially is applicable to those of lower income status. They see that through playing chess, they can succeed as well. It doesn't matter if they don't have those opportunities. If they work hard, they can clearly win. Which brings me to my next point, that chess promotes discipline. You see, when you begin to play chess competitively, you need to study. You need to study opening theory, gambits, endgames. I know 2 grandmasters, and they're actually the 2 only grandmasters on Long Island. And they have their heads in chess books and chess theory all day long. Now, being that they're studying all day long, this obviously promotes a work ethic, and it obviously promotes the idea that you need to prepare before you play a game. It promotes the idea that you need to work hard in order to succeed. Now, what can we take from all of this? We need to get chess in schools. Like I said before, in America, we're way too focused on using direct results to obtain particular test scores. Yet people forget to realize that we can use these indirect methods of obtaining better test scores, like chess. But in addition to increasing those test scores, chess, or a lot of these indirect methods, can help improve students' life choices and things like that. You see, we need chess in our education system simply because it makes children think enough to help improve their critical thinking while simultaneously make good life choices. Right now, bad life choices are hurting and harming the youth of this nation. Chess can be an epidemic and indeed a remedy to things like that. In order to really reap the results, we need to start out from a young age. We need to get the idea of thinking before they act, making good choices from a young age. And this is not some expensive thing. It only costs about $5 to put a chessboard in the hand of a young child. And if you have access to the internet, it's free. And a lot of people talk about apps and how great they are and how we can do so many things with these apps. But the fact of the matter is, due to the exponential growth that technology has had over the past 10 years, testing these particular apps is still in its beta phases, and we don't know all of its effects in terms of long-term goals and long-term effects. But unlike chess, it has been studied, but unlike these games, chess has been studied since the 1890s and has been proven consistently to help the brain in all aspects, as well as children making good life choices. Now, this situation we're in is like a chess game. You don't have a lot of moves, but you don't want to make a bad move, so you're thinking, you're waiting. Now, at the moment, you have 3 choices other than moving, which is to forfeit, offer a draw, which most likely your opponent won't take, or to lose on time. Right now, we've been given the information about the benefits of introducing chess at a young age in our education system. And we know the consequences of continuing the status quo in our education system. It's your move. Don't lose on time. Thank you.